under elections on council site, and we'll give you all the brochures.
As we gather today, I would like to acknowledge on behalf of this committee and our community that we are meeting on the traditional territory of the Algonquin people. We would like to thank the Algonquin people and express our respect and support for their rich history. And we are extremely grateful for their many and continued displays of friendship. We also thank all the generations of people who have taken care of this land for thousands of years. I would like to acknowledge, and please join me in a moment of silent reflection. Thank you. I would like to acknowledge our Auditor Will and our CEO Clerk Treasurer Tammy, our Deputy CEO Clerk Treasurer Charlene, and Sue Sheridan for their contributions to our all-day budget meeting on March 17th. Thank you also to our staff and special guests who contributed. The meeting provided many points of interest that will be taken into consideration within their respective departments. In that spirit, here are some numbers I would like to reinforce to council. Our income increased by $488,599. Our reserves increased by $646,362. Our tax arrears increased by $154,878, and our water and wastewater arrears increased by $31,308. Does anyone have any pecuniary or financial interest to declare?
I have a question. Did Sue Sheridan have anything to do with the budget? Okay.
Oh, I thought she was here doing.
That was last year.
Oh, she wasn't here this year?
No.
She was here, but she wasn't here for the budget.
Okay. Does anyone have any pecuniary or financial interest to declare? Haven't seen none. Motion for the minutes of the previous meeting.
Moved by Harold Levine, second by Maureen McMillan. Motion to approve the minutes of the Finance Committee meeting held on March 18, 2025, open session.
Questions or discussion? All those in favor? Carried.
I think you have the wrong date, it's March 17th.
Oh.
Just on the
Same
resolution.
Tuesday.
Just, so you can just cross out 17 in your initial beside and then just reread it.
Moved by Harold Levine, second by Maureen McMillan. Motion to approve the minutes of the Finance Committee meeting held on March 17, 2025, open session.
Questions or discussion? All those in favor? Carried. I don't think we have any delegations. So unfinished business. Charlie.
So just have a council report. Purpose is for the council to receive this for information. Background council has discussed and requested information on the extent of the process of adding the policing costs to the tax bill. I've explored the possibility of adding the policing costs to the tax billing. I want to bring forward some of my concerns. While I understand the intent behind this approach, I believe that it would be an administrative challenge, time-consuming, and therefore costly. The current tax billing is not set up to have a line with the policing costs. Adding this could lead to mistakes and inefficiencies. It would significantly increase the workload of staff who need to ensure the accuracy of the billing. Given our existing responsibilities, this would be an added strain. Ratepayers may or may not take note of the addition of the policing costs, and it may cause more confusion to those who do. Recommendations. Given these factors, I would recommend that we hold off on adding policing costs for the 2025 billing and observe how other municipalities around us handle the change before committing to doing so. This allows us to learn from their experience and be able to make a formal decision on how to proceed. In the meantime, if there are any questions about policing costs, ratepayers can contact the office for clarification. This report is for council's consideration.
Any questions or discussion?
I think that sounds really reasonable. Let's just see how other people are doing it. It's an easy way of doing it.
I really feel this would be a benefit to our taxpayers to actually see what the cost of policing is. Plus, it's another step in being transparent. And maybe in your note, if you could add to find out what the actual cost would be next time we talk about this. And I think we had talked about talking with Madawaska Valley to see how their process was going. Maybe if you could put that in your notes.
So when I did speak to them, like they were doing it for the next billing, so it hasn't,
It hasn't done
it
yet.
hasn't.
No. Which will give us time to talk with them and see how it went. Good. Okay.
Brian has a comment.
Oh, Brian.
I suggest we leave it as is and on the paper, on the billing, for the amount of work it's gonna cause our staff, and all the numbers are there for everybody to see. Then we haven't had many issues in the past, so I don't see why it's a concern now.
Yep. No, that's her report. Yep.
And I might suggest that if we want to get the information out to taxpayers, that we could use the newsletter to do that, to really break it down and tell them exactly how much of their tax bill it's costing. Because it's a lot that goes to the police.
Our e-letter.
Yep.
Okay, Tammy.
Okay, so I just provided that council discussed the repayment limit for your review, and you can add it into your book so that you can reflect on that. As it pertains to my municipal report, I'm providing the Finance Committee with information as to how the budgeted water and wastewater revenues and expenses are calculated. On March 18th, 2025, Mayor Mayville presented council with a document that outlined his calculations of the revenues and expenses related to water and wastewater. This report is being provided to highlight all contributing factors that are considered when determining the budgeted revenues and expenses for water and wastewater. So document A that you were provided is the original document that was provided by Mayor Mayville. Document B is my working copy, highlighting in red the areas where corrections need to be made to accurately reflect the revenues and expenses. Document C is the finalized version with the corrected information with the red annotations removed. Document D provides the supporting backup information for the corrected budgeted revenues and expenses, including details related to the SCADA project. And then document E offers the same supporting backup information for the corrected budgeted revenues and expenses, but excludes the SCADA, so you can look at it both ways. As I noted in my staff report provided on March 17, 2025, Council has the option to either maintain this process, which includes water and wastewater revenues and expenses within the provisional budget, or to separate them into a distinct budget specifically for water and wastewater. If Council chooses to separate the water and wastewater from the provisional budget, the special area rate will also need to be addressed, and it's currently linked to various departments and expenditures within the provincial budget, including a majority of water expenses, excluding the Aqua contract and hydro. This means that any change to the water and wastewater budget would also impact how the special area rate is calculated and applied. Once Council determines the approach for handling the water and wastewater budget, they will need to decide how the funds for the water and wastewater services will be collected. One option is to establish a separate levy specifically for water and wastewater services, ensuring that these costs are isolated from other budgetary concerns. Alternatively, depending on the decision regarding the special area rate, water and wastewater revenues and expenses could be incorporated into the special area rate levy, effectively pooling the funds with other services covered by that rate. This decision will influence how the community is charged for water and wastewater services, the transparency of budgeting, and the overall allocation of resources within the municipality. So if Council wants me to go through the documents, I can do so. I know that you were provided it and had time to review it, so if there's any questions, I can answer as well. But as you can see on my working copy, there's numbers in the mayor's column that one section includes the SCADA wall, our portion of the SCADA wall, another section includes the full project, so it's not comparing apples to apples. It's not the same thing. So I've gone through and read, and where the line is where it's identified as will. I must clarify that our auditor does not input any numbers into the provisional budget. That's all done by staff. So these are not Will's numbers. They are not our auditor's numbers. They are actually council approved provisional budgeted numbers. So it's done by staff, and council then approves the budget, and that's the numbers that council's approved. The 178 for the water revenue, that was noted in there is incorrect. It should be 162,886. 178,145 includes the 15,259, which included the ICIF SCADA. The 154,581 is correct. The SCADA, the 102,855, the SCADA also includes the following. So 102 wasn't a true figure because the SCADA also included the 15,259 from the water reserve, 30,000 from the ORC reserve, and 29,886 from the special area rate. Penalties and interest at 25,000 as an estimate was correct. The area tax rate was incorrect at 30,000. It should have been 69,808. And then the 495,81 as the total for the revenue was incorrect, and it should be 592,275. When you move into expenses, 442,865 includes the full amount of the SCADA project expense, the 178, and the expenses are covered by the special area rate of 69,808. The 220,666 was correct, and the bottom line for the expenses was correct at 663,531. The revenue less expenses, the 172,950 was incorrect because there was the calculations and the numbers were missing. The actual revenues less the expenses was 73,256. Now I did quickly go through the 2025. So the number that the mayor put in at 184,722 is correct. The sewer revenue was 176,289. That was correct. Penalties and interest at 25,000 was incorrect. This year it's going to be approximately $1,000. The area tax rate at 30,000 was incorrect, and it should have been 78,250. So the overall the total of $416,011 was incorrect, and it should be $440,261. As for the expenses of $309,063 for 2025 includes the expenses covered by the user fees at $238,13 and expenses covered by the special area rate at $78,250. The sewer expense was correct at $217,585 for a total water and sewer expense of $526,648. And then with the revenue less the expenses, with the number of $110,637, that's incorrect, and it should be $86,387. In Mayor Mayfield's numbers, the revenues only account for 15,259 of the SCADA project, while the expense account for the total project of 178 was accounted for. The special area rate covers expenses related to water, wages, benefits, families, EHT, WSID, materials and supplies, and aqua repairs and maintenance in the total amount of 69,808, and in the 2024 budgeted numbers, and in the 2025 are projected to be 78,250. For the 2024 council approved provisional budget numbers with the SCADA and the special area rate included, the difference of the budgeted revenues minus the budgeted expenses divided by the total budgeted taxation revenue and then multiplied by 100 will equal the percentage of the water and sewage included in the taxation levy if you were looking at the taxation levy. So if you take the 592,275 and you subtract the 663,531, you're left with 73,256. You divide that by the taxation levy, which was $3,432,102, and multiply it by 100, that's 2%. Hypothetically, if the water and wastewater costs were cash flowed solely by the tax levy would have been approximately 15% and not the 6% as previously indicated in Mayor Mayville's PowerPoint presentation that he provided on March 17th. If you divide the 73,256, which is the difference between the budgeted revenues and the budgeted expense, by the total provisional budget revenues of $6,578,715, and then multiply by 100 to get 1.11%. This means that throughout the year, the entire provisional revenue budget cash flowed 1.11% of the water and wastewater costs, and at year end, all items related to the water and wastewater were specifically attributed to the water and wastewater areas by the auditor. So my document C, that just shows the corrected information without the red and making it all confusing. Document D is my backup information showing you where the budgeted revenues came from and the amounts and the expenses. So like I said in the beginning, one of the backup documents shows the SCADA and the other one doesn't. And as you can see, they all add up to the same amount that I just provided to council.
Thank you, Tammy, for taking the initiative to look into this situation and for preparing this report. Unfortunately, I did not have access to all of this information over the past 6 months, as I truly wish I did. This report confirms my statement that the water and wastewater expenses are higher than the revenue for water and wastewater. That said, the bottom line is this. In stating that the entire township is affected by having water and wastewater in the municipal levy, whether the excess cost is $300,000 or $80,000, it just doesn't matter. It shouldn't be there. Tammy, your report says our expenses are higher than our revenue in water and wastewater. Well, too many W's. Than our revenue in water and wastewater. I'll read the whole sentence. Tammy, your report says that our expenses are higher than our revenue in water and wastewater. Is that correct?
From the numbers that I provided, yes.
Now, Council, for the sake of clarity for our residents and taxpayers, I'd like to hear from each of you. Is water and wastewater, should it be applied in the budget or out of the budget? So we'll start with Harold.
I say leave it where it is.
So if we have an overrun, you want the municipal levy to carry that. Is that what you're saying?
We've been doing it for how long now, and there's never had a problem with it.
Bill?
Yeah, I leave it where it is, and just to repeat what I've said before and what the auditor said, just because the entire municipality is cash flowing that small amount, which is 1.1% of the budget, which would be about 6.7, or $67,000, as Will stated at length, he's backing that out of the numbers at the end of the year, and making sure that that deficit shows against the water. So people who don't live in the township in Killaloe and aren't on soup, wastewater, or water are not paying any extra money to support that system. They do it during the year, but that's just an accounting that gets dealt with at the end. So I leave it where it is.
Maureen?
Status quo, leave it where it is.
So you're willing to absorb?
Yes.
Brian?
Yeah, leave it where it is.
Leave it where it is. Ted?
Well, before I answer, I'd like to know what your thought is on that.
I'm going to tell.
Pardon?
I'm going to say my spiel. I just want to give everyone the opportunity to speak.
I think I'd say one more thing in that, so Harry suggested that there was that 1.1%. If it wasn't done the way we're doing it, we'd have to cash flow that a different way, which would mean raising the rate by that 1% so that we have that money to cash flow it. It doesn't make, I can't express that more clearly, but it doesn't make sense to take that out. We have to pass a balanced budget. That's what that assists us to make a balanced budget, in my opinion.
Did you want to go or you want me to go?
Well, I'm leaving it.
Okay. So the overages of expense in water and wastewater, my feeling is they cannot be cash flowed, as we cannot adjust our tax rate on a monthly basis. Cash flow happens over the course of the year. It doesn't get done from month to month or we have to determine our municipal levy, which is done in April and May. So we have to know at this time of the year what our overage is. My next question would be, Tammy, how did you arrive at the 1% levy for 2024? According to your notes, you used the 2024 budget, which is $3,432,102
That's the levy,
as the levy.
that's the tax levy.
Yeah, as your starting point.
I
Okay.
did it both ways. I did it as the tax levy, if you look at my notes, I
Yep.
did it as
Yep.
showing it in the tax levy, which is 2%, and the
Yep.
total revenue budgeted amount is 1.11%.
Yep.
So I showed all of the numbers that are there.
Yep, no, I understand that. So according to the document provided by staff for last year, we used the 2023 actual, which was 2.933 million, to determine our municipal levy of 17%. The difference is $498,682. And that was that document. I think I turned over too many pages. Just bear with me a minute. So the water reserve, or the ICF SCADA, that was $102,000. So that was a grant that came 2 years ago.
It was applied for in 21, we started it late 22. It was awarded in 22. It was applied for in 21.
I apologize, I usually have these notes right in front of me. Bear with me. There we go. I think. No. I'm not quite sure where they went. So the 102,000, that was 2 years ago. And last year it evened out in the numbers in the provisional budget. And then 2024, it only showed as a budget, but no actual.
Because at the end of the year, the budget that you are looking at is a PISA budget, which is removed, and it's classified as capital.
So it gets slid out, right? But
The auditor removes it and removes it for the PISA budget.
But the 102 still shows as a budget, okay? And the special area rate for SCADA, is that in the special rate of 200 and whatever that was? Of your special area rate?
Yes.
So that is in there with all of the other items. And the special area rate of water, which that gets taken out. There's money in the revenue and there's money in the expenses. So it nets out to zero, right?
I'm not sure what you mean.
Okay, so in your 2024, the special area rate shows 69,808, and then in your expenses it shows 69,808 also.
Okay.
So it nets out to zero. And water and sewage interest and penalty of 25,000. Is that, so that is a percentage of the 329,000?
That's an estimate of what the water and sewer penalty
Okay, so that is of what Charlene sent to the tax file, right?
No. This is the water and sewage general penalty and interest. Just like the tax interest, penalties and interest, this is specific to water and sewage.
That has nothing to do with real tax.
No, but we slid, this is all going into the tax account? Because we had a question that if we're going to continue doing that at our budget meeting? Remember?
Continue doing,
If we're going to separate that, or if it's all going to be put into the tax account? I think Will brought that up.
yes, Charlene's checking with iCity to see if that's an option. To be able to produce a report showing what the water and sewage interest and penalty will be for 2025, and to see if it can be separated.
Okay. So by the sounds of everything, council would like to, irregardless of the cost, council would like to carry on and float this throughout from year to year. Whatever the amount shows, council would like that to be kept in the municipal levy, right? Is that the feeling I'm getting?
Was this a vote we did, Mr. Mayor? Or?
I think we could make it to a vote, sure.
We did.
So if, hypothetically, if that amount comes up to whatever, $200,000, you as councillors are willing to accept municipal levy reflects that, so that means,
That's not a
I-
reasonable
some-
question in my opinion. Like, where do you come up with the $200,000? And
It was-
we're not at that point in the budgeting process to be able to know that.
it was a hypothetical.
What people have said here tonight is, from my understanding, is that they want to leave it. They want to leave it as a part of the process, which is in the recommendation, suggested recommendation from our auditor when he was here. That's my recollection. That we do it this way. That's the way we've always been doing it. It's not costing the people who don't live in Killaloe any additional money.
No, it's not a matter of people of Killaloe, it's a matter of the entire township.
Yes, it's not costing the people of the township any extra
Okay,
to pay for Killaloe expenses.
okay.
Don't know how to say that any different.
No.
You're suggesting it.
No, but you were saying Killaloe, but it's the entire township.
Yes.
Okay, so we're gonna move on.
Before we move on, so you just said $200,000
Hypothetically,
hypothetically.
That's
But that's the problem. People in the public don't hear hypothetically. And that's what's getting everybody worked up. When you hypothetically say numbers like that, it causes a problem.
okay.
You don't see that, or?
Well, no, I'm just trying to get council involved in this process.
People are watching us there, and you're saying $200,000 is gonna cost the taxpayers for the water and sewage in the township. Literally, that's what you're saying, and they're listening to this. And we don't know what it's gonna be.
Well, so this year, according to Tammy's figures, there was 73,000.
It's not 200.
And next year, there's potentially 86, according to the sheet that Tammy has. Okay? So, if we're willing to accept these charges, and council has nodded and said yes, then that's the way we're gonna go. Okay? We're good with that?
We're good.
Okay.
Did you do the vote?
We did, didn't we? We passed it.
I didn't hear the mayor say anything about it.
Well, let's have a vote, show of hands. How's that? Well, we can't vote in a committee. So, the recommendation is to stay status quo.
Are we in committee?
Yes, we're in finance committee.
I know, but we're, oh, okay, fine, thank you.
So, the recommendation is to stay the same. We're absorbing it.
You got that? You got that down, what everyone said? 5 of us.
Okay. Next.
But the township isn't absorbing it, it's coming, whatever we're doing here.
No, what are you saying?
No, forget it.
What I was saying is the
Yeah.
township is not
Absorbing it.
absorbing the cost. I think you're doing a disservice to the taxpayers here by not acknowledging what is fact provided to us by the experts, which says no one outside of the users of the system are paying for the system.
Well, Tammy's just
By not acknowledging that, you're doing a disservice to the taxpayers.
Well, Tammy has just illustrated to everyone here that this year, 76,000 is being absorbed in the levy.
Is being cash flowed.
Cash
Being
flow.
cash
Not
flow.
absorbed.
And at the end of the year, what they do is they take that money and they put it on the balance sheet showing that the water system or the wastewater system is in deficit. It stays there until the wastewater or water system earns enough money to work down their own deficit.
I totally understand. Will has said that, Tammy has said that for the last 3 years, for whatever. But my point is that come April, when we're doing our budget now, and we're showing 73,000, okay, that is being absorbed because our expenses are over our revenue. That has to be taken care of by the 17%. That was taken care of by the 17% tax increase.
That was taken care of by the whole revenue budget, not the 17%.
But-
I gave you that scenario to show, because you're saying that it's the 17%. It's not, it's the whole revenue budget, which turns out to be 1.11%. And again, at year end, when the auditor comes, the auditor removes and puts the water and sewage to where it's supposed to be, and any surplus that's left goes back into the rest of the township. So it would go into working funds and then into the reserve, and it's spent then for council to, if council did not want to increase the levy, they could draw from reserves, which part of that surplus is put in there. So it's not the levy itself. The 17% levy, the way the budget works is you put in all of your revenues and then you put in all of your expenses prior to determining what you want that 17% or that tax levy to be.
Correct.
So you have the revenue budget and your expenses, and then you determine. It doesn't mean that that whole cost of the water and wastewater is being absorbed. Some other parts of revenues, and I've explained this before, some other parts of the revenue system that's in there offset the water and wastewater as well. So what you're saying is, what you need to say is that 17% is offsetting all of the expenses, not just the water and wastewater.
Well, that's correct, of course.
Yeah, so
But
it's the revenue, it's the budget as a whole. It's not just the tax levy.
Believe it or not, you and I are saying the same thing. You take the total revenues and you take the total expenses. And if it nets zero, there would be no impact to your tax levy or to your municipal levy. But if there's a difference, that impacts your municipal levy.
Yes, but what you're saying is that it's specifically the water and wastewater is impacted to that, but it's not.
Okay.
It's the expenses as a whole.
That's right. And part of the whole is the overrun of the water and wastewater. We're saying the same thing, believe it or not.
I don't believe it at all.
You don't believe her?
I believe everything she says, yes.
She just finished telling us that she's 73,000, it's being absorbed by the total expenses.
I do not
It's
believe
being
you guys are
cash
saying the same thing.
Yeah.
Anyways, it will get proven out eventually. You will see. Anyways, let's move on. So now we're going to go through the departments. Does anyone have any questions in regards to the revenue section on the provisional
No, it isn't water and sewage.
Can you explain what this exercise is gonna be? I'm not sure that I understand.
Well, we're gonna go through department by department, and the heads are here, and they presented already. Now it's gonna be up to us to say yea or nay.
Okay, so
To
we're talking
adjust.
about the additional things. We're not going line by line.
We could if something sticks out. Maybe one counselor might have something to bring up. We're trying to do is, well, before we start, so any wage-related items, I think we should leave until we go, if we have time tonight to go into close to discuss that. So if we make our time limit, say at 9 o'clock for this part of the meeting, and then if we're done earlier, that's fine, but we need to go into close to discuss the wage part. Any wage-related items.
Mr. Mayor, you know how Frank get after 9 o'clock.
If we're talking money, you'll be okay.
But if council's just wanting to say if they want to give staff a percentage increase, that doesn't have to be committee of the whole because you're not identifying individuals and you're not specifying hourly wage. So if you're giving a bulk, that was done last year, if you're giving a bulk, you want staff to come back with 2%, 3%, 4%, 5%, 0, anything like that, that does not have to be in committee of the whole.
Okay. Okay. Let's leave it till the end. We're done departments and then we'll go from there. Okay, does anyone have anything on the revenue side they want to bring up? I have a couple questions if nobody has anything. Penalties and interest, which is on page 1 of your budget. We are showing a budget of $185,000. Just wondered how come it went up so much.
Because it's an estimate. It's just something you have to calculate, and that's the number that we got when we calculated it. It's a budget. Again, it's an estimate, so I don't have an actual because we don't know about that.
It just went up a lot from 126 to 100.
And also, too, it has to account for the water and sewage that were put on the tax roll. So the water and sewage penalty and interest was placed on the tax rolls, so that's why it's increased to the 185 as an estimate.
Okay. Where was that money before? The tax
In the
interest?
penalties and interest for water and sewage under treasury.
Oh, okay. Okay. So recreation services went from 16,550 to 20,000, but we only
What
had an
page you
actual.
on, Jim?
Where are we
Oh,
here?
page 3? Sorry.
We're scaling revenues?
Yeah,
Okay.
we only put in 1,212 against our budget of 16,500, and then we put our budget this year to 20,000. Just wondered what and why?
I'd have to take a look at that.
That 20,000 is the entire amount that's left in the reserve for Kilwood Pathways Park, I believe.
Correct, yes,
Correct.
you are right.
That's
You
the
are right.
entire amount that's available for the
Yes.
Kilwood Pathways Park.
Okay.
And that amount is left over from a grant from a previous year.
Yeah. So a couple questions in fees and charges. So again, that would be
Page 2?
page 2.
What page?
Page 2. So last year's budget was 1,000. This year's actual was $108,000, no, sorry, 82,000, and then this year's budget is 1,000.
What are you talking about there?
Line 4 on fees and charges.
Okay.
That was good news to have 82,000 to come in, but I was just wondering what that was.
Is that the property sale?
Sorry?
I'm just saying, is it the property sale?
I don't know off the top of my head.
GG revenue.
Yeah, so it's other government revenues that we receive.
It's a good news story to have 82,000.
No, I would have to take, I wasn't prepared to answer that question, so I don't know. I'd
Okay.
have to take a look at my notes, so I can get back to you on
No,
that.
that's fine. It is last year, so it's just nice to know. Okay, I think that's it for revenue. Okay, so let's go to page 3 at the bottom, legislative, which is our budget. So on here, the budget was 187. I think we should reduce that to by 20,000. So that's all of our expenses, salaries and meetings, etc. And trips.
So we are reducing the council salaries down 20.
Oh, you want to go line by line? Okay. So,
So yeah, we have to know
okay.
where we're reducing.
okay, so council salaries down by 15,000, or 15,000, yeah. And I didn't calculate the benefits, the OMERS, and the employee health. So you'll have to calculate that for what that is. And then expense mileage. I know last year we had spent $1,494, and you put in a budget of $2,500, which was the same as the year before. I was thinking maybe we should lower that to 1,000. And I may not have all the receipts to see what actually was spent this year. So is that too low?
We had 1,500 last year.
Yeah, we spent 1,500. Maybe we should make it 1,500 then, because I don't think.
If council chooses to up the mileage rate, it's going to be more.
That's right, I never thought of that. Okay, can we lower that to 2,000 then, the mileage? And then,
Can I just suggest that we get a sense for how council feels about lowering that before we go
Sure.
line by line to
Oh,
tell?
sure,
I mean,
sure.
I think it's a pretty reasonable
chirp in.
to lower $15,000 to $20,000 in that expense line, but I don't know, it might prevent us from having more meetings.
Let's take more.
Okay, the other one that I had was the mayor's office supply and computer. The cost of paper and ink and all that stuff. I'd asked council if they would up that to 1,500 instead of 1,000.
Well, you wouldn't have to print all that stuff that you do, and we'd save money.
And the last item that I had was under miscellaneous. That was that's where you put the Christmas party.
Correct?
Does council want to keep that in, or do you want to move it to administration? Because I think it shows that we shouldn't be doing that, maybe?
We didn't do it last year.
Yeah, we did.
Well, we did something instead.
Well, we did something for staff, which is great, I think.
So if you want that to stay in, then what you're saying is council is saying yes to it. I know we have to say yes anyways, but,
Uh-huh.
What's the benefit of moving it?
well, in case someone from the public looks and says, what is this? And you have to say what it is, and why is it in?
100% behind that.
We gotta be transparent in what we spend money on.
Yeah, you're telling us to hide it. Well, you're
Sort
saying-
no.
Yes, you
I'm saying what it shouldn't be in our account, it should be in administration. That's not hiding it.
It's council putting on a Christmas party for staff.
That's right.
That's how we're gonna define it.
That's how it's been defined, I think, for the last however many years.
Okay, well, yes, Brian.
I have a question. I want to go back to that mileage stuff here.
Yeah,
So what you're saying is to drop it down to 2,000?
yeah.
So if you go down 2 lines and you see the mayor's mileage cost, $700, that's almost half of the 2,000. So just for transparency for the public out there, so you're gonna spend half of it and the other 6 of us are gonna divide up the other half? Or how is that gonna work?
No, they're two separate lines.
That's right.
So.
But if there's only 2,000 to start with, and you're spending 700 of it,
No, there'll be 2,700.
2,700 in total.
His
Okay.
is different line.
thank you.
Oh, did you think
For
it
the
was?
clarity, I thought it was one.
Don't worry, I wouldn't do that to you. Okay, does everyone, and while you're on the hot seat, Mr. Bukowski, just so you know, and these are furnished by, so the mayor his stipend or salary is $1,560 times 12, which is $18,720 per year. Each counselor receives $728. There's 6 of you, times 12. So that is $52,416 for a net total of $122,772. One full meeting costs $1,092, just so everyone's aware. So in case someone were to ask you, Brian, if we were,
I am aware of it already.
so if someone was to ask you what the reduction would be into a counselor, or if we reduce council, let's say, that would be the savings that would be there, okay? But I just wanted to make sure you knew that. Okay? That
So
was,
just the mayor office, the 5, did that go up to 15 from 1,000?
is everybody okay with that?
Did council agree to take $20,000 out of the legislative, like out of that budget line, out of the suggested 187? We spent 156 last year. So that's saying, that gives us a little $7,000 or $8,000 fluctuation in case there's 5 or 6 extra meetings during the year.
And the only problem I have with it is you don't know what comes up that we have to have meetings,
Yeah.
right?
Well, there's a buffer. I think I provided 7 meetings, 7 additional meetings. I put a buffer in from last year's number.
Well, we can watch it closely maybe and take November and December off if we have to. How's that, Ted?
I think we should leave it as
Then
it
July
is.
and August too.
No, we can't leave it the way
We
it
don't
is.
have to be
We were,
going the other way with it then.
we were $32,000 under budget. We have to reduce the budget.
As Bill said, take 20 off.
So right now I have reduced council salaries by 15,000, reduced council mileage by have it at 2,000, and increase the mayor office supplies to 1,500.
And we're gonna leave miscellaneous the way it is.
So then that's just a net reduction of $15,000. That's what you're talking about.
Correct.
But it doesn't include the benefit part.
Well,
So 15,000 plus, Bill, what's the amount of benefit?
we're spending most of our benefits. we're spending most of our budget. There's not really much room to decrease there. If you wanted to decrease anywhere,
No, but I mean, if we knock off 15,000,
I understand that. Yeah, well,
it just gets added to the 15,000, that's all.
But the benefits would stay relatively the same,
Well,
because those are benefits big, like a very tiny bit.
Well, like that Olmer's is a crazy thing. What's that percentage? 9%. So it adds up. So is everybody okay with that?
I'm not getting any benefits.
to be clear, Tammy, could you say what you think you're supposed to do?
Reduce council salaries by 15,000 and revise benefits. Council mileage should leave our, have it at 2,000 and increase mayor office supplies to 1,500.
Yeah.
Okay, everybody okay with that one?
I don't think we should decrease the mileage.
By 500?
I think it should stay because we don't know, like she said, if we raised the mileage and we just don't know if you gotta go to Toronto, if you gotta, I don't know. I don't have a problem with the salary,
Yeah. What, the mileage you're concerned?
the mileage, I think we should take mileage.
You know, I think we could agree on that, because I think we were going to talk about the actual mileage increase. And just in case, like Ken said, in case there's something that a couple of us have to go to, then we're covered. Everybody okay with that portion? So
Gas is cheap now.
for how long?
So is mileage staying 25?
Yeah. Okay, ready to move on? Administration. Does anybody have anything in there that they want to bring up? I guess I missed elections, didn't I? Okay, administration. I didn't realize, but the boot allowance, is this where we take care of this?
No, the boot allowance has its own line item in everybody's department.
Okay. So instead of taking care of it here, we do wait till we get to each department? Like in,
Yes, because nobody in administration gets boot allowance.
okay.
I think you could use them. You deal with a lot of stuff.
Okay, I have a couple of questions. At the bottom of the page where it says pay equity, why do we need a budget there? Page 4.
Page 8 already.
Why do we need it?
In the event that there's changes throughout the year with staffing, and if the pay grade,
Job classification, jobs get reclassified.
that's right, and that accounts for that cost, for just administration only.
Okay. So we're safe to keep that in there.
Correct.
And miscellaneous. All right, going a couple lines upward. Are you comfortable with that? Well, you must be comfortable or you put it in. So last year we spent $1,752, and this year you want to keep it
It's
at.
an older building, and we just don't know what to expect.
Okay. Any room to lower that at all?
The council would like.
It's your budget.
This decision.
It's our budget.
So if we were to lower that to 6,000, what would your feeling be?
The actual's 591 already.
Sorry?
The actual,
Yeah, the, where it says admin miscellaneous. So instead of 8,500, if you were to lower that to 6,000, how would you feel about that?
What does the actual say?
oh, sorry, I might have an
1752.
update. Sorry, I have what I sent out earlier that didn't really go. So we're at 5,191. We can't go to 6. We've already spent over $5,000.
On miscellaneous.
Just trying to look on the budget websites.
Okay. Okay. I just want to make a comment about the insurance. Like this is, as a whole, like we spend a lot of money in insurance.
That's not as a whole, that is just for administration.
Sorry?
That is not as a whole, that's for
No,
administration.
no, I understand. But as a whole, like we're $160,000. Like that's a lot of insurance. And we've stayed with the same broker. Is that the right phrase? Broker? Does council think we should explore and look and see if there's a better price, or should we?
We have looked
think we
in
have.
previous years, and there's very few places that will offer insurance to municipalities.
I'm just trying to
It's hard
to
to
see
get
if there's
insurance.
someone, another company that would give us
Last
a
time
better.
we did look was a couple years ago, and I believe it was cheaper to stay where we were. That's why we are where we are. It's very hard to find insurance.
For municipalities,
That's what we were told 2 years ago or 3 years ago.
because like this is, well, as you can see, it's crazy.
That's insurance, period.
Okay. Well, same with our house and our cars. The donation line, I know you went through a couple new ones, but overall, is that where the Game On is?
Yes.
Okay.
And
And so those are in there.
Those are the two big ones. That's
that's
what,
that whole donation sheet.
yeah. Yeah, I think you only gave us just what you wanted extra or something? Or did you give
I
us?
provided you with
Okay.
the whole donation.
And two more questions. First one is MFIFPA. Double the budget from last year?
Yes,
You're okay with that?
yes.
We discussed that in the previous meeting. It's based on what we know is coming,
Okay.
or in the works.
And my last question, the accounting and audit fee was $65,000.
That's actually incorrect, we'll have to increase that to 75.
Okay, anybody else have any questions on administration? So did we knock anything out of there or add anything? Status quo?
We have it $500 to yours.
But I took off 20,000.
We did.
What?
We took it off. You asked for more.
Okay, Treasury, I don't think nobody would have any questions on Treasury? Asset management.
There's nothing in there.
Just a question in regards to 2024 actual. So that intake 3, where did the offset go? Is there an expense for that?
That is the expense. The 2020.
Or I meant the revenue.
Pardon?
I meant the revenue.
No.
So that wouldn't be up above? It just shows as the expense? Okay. Administration building. Questions?
Not together with split and hockey tape.
What? What's that?
The building is held together with split and hockey
Oh,
tape.
yeah.
But I believe Dale, I think, has some stuff for the administration, correct?
exploratory work, which is a cost. Potential engineering work, because we have pipe issues. We have the accessible washroom, pipes are, some of them are collapsed, and there's something going on in underneath, but we haven't got any numbers on that. I can take a guess, maybe 300,000 by the time you rip up all the floors, and basically from the stairs back to probably, I don't know, past Tyler's office. There's a possibility we could have to tear up the majority of that whole section, which
Just
is,
look back what it cost us at the Kill the Rink to have that all tore up for drainage for the sewer pipe, so you can imagine what's gonna cost here.
yeah, I don't know what those numbers were, but.
Can we build an outhouse?
Well,
Just got a grant to build one up.
He did.
That's
what he
not
did.
just a plumbing issue in that aspect. We also have, where we get a heavy rain, we flood. Water flows, and it actually can literally flow very big through the roll-up door at the side of the building. And we get a good heavy rain, but it's not caught quick enough. I can't come up without putting something towards it to start an investigation on it, but Colton and I have been talking. There is a grant out there to get, I brought that. What was that grant? The value of that grant, Colton, do you remember? 200,000. So we've been talking about getting people in to do some exploratory estimates. And then we're looking at trying to apply for a grant for that. There is still a risk there. Another steel roof that is here on the shape that is going to need to be looked at in the next few years. We had, the numbers we put into it a couple of years ago, we had it all sealed in an asphalt. There is still a couple of little tiny minor leaks. I think they're pretty much all over Charlene's desk.
So Dale, what are you suggesting? We need a new roof and we need a new building. So how much money are you asking for?
In that aspect of this year, we're looking at applying for a grant we'd like to try and apply for a grant, which is up around the 200,000. The roof, it's not something like you say, it's not critical, it has to be done this year. I brought that in as you're to be taking out in the next few years.
Okay.
And so I don't have a dollar figure in there. My suggestion on that is to try and put something into a reserve for this
Yeah.
building.
Yeah,
And that's not just for this year. I'm gonna say do that from here on out. You're gonna start putting money in because, again, like you said yourself, it's an old building. In some aspects, it's a really old building.
Yeah.
We've got a lot of aging buildings, and the other thing is, and it's not gonna be long, is we've got 2 furnaces to look at replacing.
Excuse me,
They're both quite old and,
did you get that camera, Dale?
yes.
Oh,
I have not been able to have a chance to try and scope the pipe myself yet. Some of it, I don't even know if that's going to answer everything. Give us a ballpark idea of distances, but we know the floor drain in the accessible washroom doesn't actually drain. So we know we're accessible washroom up to at least Colton's office where the roof drain does come down. It comes down basically right between Colton and Dean's offices. And that's part of our problem, but I believe it's all below grade. So I haven't had a chance to actually run the scope through it. And I get ideas that way, but that'll be more information to be passed on to somebody with a lot more experience with dealing with the underground infrastructure that's appears to have been collapsing.
So do you need any money this year for those items, the building or the roof?
So if we look at Dale's report, in his report, he's got the side basement entrance to the township office, the bricks are deteriorating. So that's $3,000 he has put in there for that. township office heating upgrades, we put in 12,000 to 15,000. The old Wells office renovations, he's asking for permission to start working on the renovation with windows first, and then doing some studding around the windows, because I believe windows need to be made smaller, I think you said.
Yeah, and there's no R value when it comes to it. So any heat that is going into that is just going straight into the windows.
And then,
The biggest reason why I'd like to push the old office thing is if we can house our offices that are gonna be basically torn apart for we don't know how long, at least we've given them somewhere to work and actual space to work, instead of trying to, those who are working, it comes down to Dean and Colton, they're working in shoeboxes. And it's awful tight quarters if they want to meet with somebody, and that type of thing, but they just, the offices are so small. When we redo the offices, they would actually physically be a little bit bigger. They'd have room to store the files and everything in there that they use on a day-to-day basis. And it gives us the ability to, basically I said, give them somewhere to work. And that's why we've got that in there as, this would be kind of step one to making room to be able to do the needed repairs that they're basically trying to interrupt their workflow, because with that it's going to be pretty tough to do work.
Okay. Maybe what we do is we go through one by one. How's that? See, and go see a show of hands to see yay or nay. How about the first one? Side basement entrance
I'm a
to,
little confused here. We're making decisions and we don't know, like, what the budget would be, do we?
I think what we're gonna do.
Yeah, he's got it right here.
is- Sorry.
he's got it right here.
I think what we're gonna do, Ted, is tonight tell Tammy about all of the projects we think we want to
And
done.
then just go plug it.
She can go and plug them into the budget, and we'll see what we're dealing with, and then we can backtrack where we need to.
Because in my eyes, we're making decisions and we don't know what money's there.
That's right. And we don't know what our bottom line's gonna be,
So I
so
know, so that's
but-
why I'm not sure what to do with this.
in order to get to the bottom line. So, first one, side basement entrance to the township office.
What section are we in on
Oh,
that?
this
I
is,
think there's money in the budget to do that already.
It has to be done, the
Yeah.
audits will fall down.
that was that sheet that Dale gave us
It
on
has to be
March
done
17th.
Because it's a fire accident, so it has to be.
And
We
I
have
think,
$19,000 between repair and maintenance and everything.
and if I remember correctly, that was, I think we approved that last year. So- Okay, so that one we can stick in here.
Well, it doesn't need to be added as an additional cost into the budget. There's already money set aside in the budget for that under repair and maintenance. There's $9,000 that are suggested for this year in repair and maintenance, and that's one of the projects that's gonna go under there. Correct? Yeah?
Oh, that's all part of it already?
That's all part of it.
Okay, so, yes,
The big project is, from my perspective, in this building, that we have to answer by the $11,000 windows and the $12,000 first.
well, I think,
Those are additional that aren't.
I think if we, before we get to those points, I think we need to talk about the heating upgrades.
I just said the $12,000 furnace.
Oh, did you? Sorry. I heard windows, that's all I heard.
Both of them, those are the two. Sorry, I'm humble.
Okay, so, what does everyone feel about the two furnaces?
Well, again, they're always keep running the way they are and we're not replacing them until they quit, right?
Yep.
It gives you 2 years.
Personally, I would rather see you put the money into the windows and the other thing, because that's what, well, for one, it's made to be cost. The furnaces, actually, we've been really lucky this year. I think it's only been 3 times since heating season started that we've had an issue with the one furnace. The other furnace in the basement, actually, we got lucky this year. There haven't had any issues.
Well, I know they work,
They are
just,
going to fail eventually.
just standing underneath that heater, they work really good.
They are going to fail. We're having major issues. Last year, we had a lot of problems with the upstairs furnace.
Okay, the discussion is about this section, Old Wilkes office. What's everyone's feelings? So he's got an estimate of $35,000.
Only asking for $11,000 to do windows at this point. I believe.
Windows are going to be framing work as well. Like that's the 11,000 is just the actual windows being installed. Windows like there's good. They got to be reduced in size and everything. That's why we have this other money in there. No, there's actually like there's electrical and flooring stuff, which if you don't do it this year, okay, but like there's going to be other expenses in the window itself than just 11,000.
So 11,000 plus 2,500, plus you want more?
Well, we'd like to try and start getting it going at some point. That's why I brought in here at the 35. If you go with less, then we will take out some things. You basically give me a number, and that's what we'll work with.
I would say do the windows, the framing for the windows, 13.5, plug that into the budget, and if we have room after,
Yeah.
we will look at it then if we have more money.
Okay, so 13.5 plus how much for the extras you talked about?
That is,
Pardon?
That includes the extras.
I don't have that sheet.
That's windows plus
Pretty much frame it in and insulate it and enclose that in with.
Okay. Any other priorities there? Does anybody want to touch anything of the medical center at this time?
Medical center is
Separate?
further into the-
Okay.
So that was the only thing for the new building.
Okay. So that would be an addition of, well, not the addition of the side basement, that's already there, but just an extra 13.5, right?
That's a point.
Everybody okay with that? Show of hands. Okay. And who's next? What's next? Do we want to skip to facilities and asset management before we do the fire department? Facilities, asset
Just
management
one question
is
on
on page
that
7.
last admin building here.
Yeah.
Line, so we have a line here that says repairs and maintenance. About 4 up from the bottom.
9,000?
Yep. And then bottom line is building maintenance. What's the difference there?
what page are you on there?
Page 5.
Page 5 under administration building.
So count
So
2,400.
we have 2 lines of maintenance is what I see. I'm just wondering if you can tell me what's the difference, or why is there 2 lines?
Yeah, the one last year was 978 and we're up to 10,000 this year.
So the repairs and maintenance, that would be your general, your little repairs and maintenance here and there. Toilet paper holder, brakes, that kind of stuff. Your building maintenance is the bigger cost, so your windows, your capital. Thank you.
Okay, so it's separated into 2. Yep, good, thanks.
So we're okay with leaving that one as 10,000 for a budget?
Once we go through and we add in the 13, we'll see what we have that for, and we'll adjust it.
Okay, good. And one other question, Dale, is the heating fuel. How come there was, we budgeted 12,000 and we only spent 5,700? Is that just a good year?
Again, it's a budget, and you have to look at your increases. You don't know if heating fuel is going to go up.
Cost
or
of
it's
fuel
down.
goes up and down. Ted would be able to verify that.
Pretty much every day.
So you heated this whole building for 5,700 last year? Or is that,
No, that wouldn't be,
No.
57 wouldn't be the total heating, because we do have electric in areas too. I don't know what that is, that included in that?
Heating fuel.
But that would be in our electric, so.
I was gonna say, that's cheap to heat this building, if it's only 5,700 bucks.
Certainly enough to keep Tammy warm.
You look at, basically from the bottom of
Oh,
the oil is basically heating other electric heats, library, all the offices, and everything down,
hydro,
from the bottom of the stairs down.
10,000.
And my last question for Dale is that the line for wages, who is that?
It can be anybody. It can be Dell, it can be people from Public Works, depending on what code they use.
Which is directly affecting
This building.
this building. Okay, anything else for that part? Then let's skip to that facility asset management, which is on page 7. Does anyone have any questions on that account or that department? Last year, his budget, he ended up really good. He was only $32 over his budget. How'd you do that? Nobody has any questions? So that one's okay the way it is? Right. Fire department. I'm sure everybody has questions about this. Yes?
Can we go back to animal control?
No, we're not there yet.
Oh, we're done this then. Oh, there's, okay, sorry.
Page 5.
Yeah.
Flip it.
This looks
It's a
like
long one.
relatively a status quo budget, couple of increases for insurance and.
Yes, but I believe that the project report that Bob has supplied council, if they want to make a decision on some of the stuff that he's asked for in there. So the Ramley Fire Hall refurbishment, the exterior and the interior. Council wants to discuss that.
I think we have to take consideration in the fact that it's an evacuation center and we have to maintain it as best as we can. And so, yeah, that's, I think we need to do whatever we need to do. Any comments from anyone?
Well, that's $100,000.
Keep it down over there.
I think his numbers were,
I have the interior was 20,000 and the exterior 50 to 60, does that sound about right?
That's the answer. Dealing with Dale on that, that's another key.
Now, does the, oh no, I'm sorry, I'm looking at something totally different. Never mind.
okay, Bob, on your report, you had Round Lake Fire Hall refurbishment, and then you had both the screws being tightened and all that, and you had a number of 55 to 60. Was that just wasn't for the screws being tightened? That's for-
Screws have been fixed that were up there with that particular leak was
Okay.
50 or 55,000. It's to strap the building, insulate it, and then put siding on it.
Okay. And then for the inside that you're talking about is 20,000.
Yes.
So-
Most of that is pretty petty stuff, but it has to be done, painting, patching, and
So
very
what-
minor building refurbishment there.
So your proposal is to bring it up to what you would like as far as a standard would be $80,000
Correct.
in and out.
I believe there's also a water treatment system replacement for 5,500 there that's not included in that.
That's correct, that's under Dale's presentation.
And that's a must do.
Yeah.
That has to be fixed.
So would council be okay if we list this as the 80,000 and see where it fits in at the conclusion? Or do you want to barter at this point? Or discussion? Whatever you wish.
I think maybe do part of it, put part of it in, then like do the interior this year.
I think we should look at maybe the inside and work on it, and the outside, we might have to leave for another year. We don't have that kind of money.
If there was a priority, which one would you prefer, in or out?
Well, I think from purpose of use, it would be the inside.
Yeah. The evacuation
Save
centers.
you money on heating and, the capability and strength and maintenance of the building itself.
The
Understood.
inside is definitely the priority over the outside. Bob just made it very clear. It's a longevity by doing the outside and heating savings, but the inside, you remember, it is a fire hall. It does have diesel trucks that fire up in there. And painting and fixing up of inside is the priority as a feedback center.
My thinking is, me personally, I would like to do the whole thing, because you never know when you're going to come back to it, that's all. It's nice to say, yeah, we'll do this year, this next year. If we end up at the end of the day and say, we don't have the money to do it, then we pull the outside. But for the time being, I think we should put in the full 80, and then we can come back to it if we have to.
I think we already know we don't have the money, so we might as well just look at the inside and save that step right there.
That would be my vote.
Especially the inside as an evacuation center, that's got to be cleaned up.
We gotta do the water, we gotta do the inside of it. Like where you push.
So how long will the exterior last? And I don't know if I should be asking you or you guys. Pardon me?
It's got lots of time now.
It has lots of
It's a
time?
brick building.
Okay, like we're not in a situation
They're
like
not-
with the
they're
fire
not-
hall here
not-
where,
Not a brick building.
okay.
So that if we do the inside, we do the inside plus the
The water.
water thing? So, and the water thing,
Increase of 25.5.
sorry?
It would be an increase of 25.5 to the fire department budget.
Do we have any reserves that will cover any part of that? Yeah. I think with these little capital projects, when we have reserves, we should consider using them rather than putting it on the tax burden.
Is there enough reserve to do the outside also?
just have to remember, we have to remember though, with reserves, that we really need a new truck soon. So we don't wanna be spending all our reserves and then have $1 million fire truck to buy.
So, so we do the inside
And water.
and the water, but the inside is for this budget and the water is for, or we do everything together?
Yeah.
Okay, okay, show of hands. Show of hands of doing those two
And
things.
I thought, we said the water was under his budget.
That's what I thought, but,
No, it's under his report.
Oh, okay,
not
not
his
his
budget.
budget,
okay,
okay.
show of hands. Okay, that's good. Both items. Building department. Oh, before we go to the building department, Bob, one question for you. Repairs and maintenance to the trucks. You had budgeted 25, and last year you only used 12.
That was a good year.
Yeah,
Yes.
so we should carry on that way?
Remember
I
the
could carry on
discussion?
that way, I could lose an engine tomorrow.
Remember the discussion we had, they had no structure fires last year, so it's a lot easier.
And no truck repairs, okay,
And you've seen some of the issues like this week's leader, with respect to fire trucks.
yeah.
Changed pretty quickly.
Something happened to the rescue, did it not, the other night?
What's this?
Something not happened to the rescue in Killoo the other night?
Yeah,
What was that?
so Lou, that was a chimney fire.
No, but the truck. What happened to the rescue van?
Oh, he had just come out of servicing from the safety check and whatnot, and we did have a call.
Yeah,
We went to the call, we're bringing it back, and he blew an oil line.
so there you go. It's stuff like that that you don't expect, that costs a lot of money.
Yeah, and you have to be prepared.
Because that could have blown on the way to the call and not noticed and blew the motor, right?
Yeah.
So,
Okay, building department.
finder.
We have something going on. with
Page
property
6 up
standards.
Pardon?
Yeah, we had
Six
discussed that the last meeting. That was the Brenna's Creek.
Ah, perfect. I thought I knew every number in here.
Sorry that I surprised you. Question in regards to sick leave. Why did we put a 0 budget in?
I don't plug the numbers in for vacation, stats, sick benefit donors. I just do wages.
Tammy?
We don't use that code for the sick leave, it actually goes under the wages, and then it's just a note saying that it was for.
So there's already
Some
931.
There's already $900.
I think there's 931, so it'll have to be moved, so we'll have to do a journal entry to move that.
So then both columns will show 0 then? Conferences, trade shows. Are you traveling this year?
I'd like to, but it's beyond my control whether I can end up going or not on a case-by-case basis with 2 little ones, so I'd like to.
Because you've doubled your budget on that line. You went from 14 to 2,800?
Yeah, the fees for the actual conference are up.
Yeah. So, you're okay with that?
Yeah, if I decide to go, it would show that's deficit then, right? So I'm hoping to go.
Is there any other questions? Is there any questions? Okay, there's a couple
I have
of,
a question for the property standards,
Mhm.
expenses.
that's the Brennan's Creek.
Oh, okay, good.
I think I remember it. Or the Bell's Illustrator.
So, what was the building department assistant? Does anyone have any questions in that department?
Now, I don't know if council wants to take a look at the blue allowance. Tyler does have a blue allowance, as well as Dale has a blue allowance of $200. And I know that you made note of that earlier about the blue allowance, and if council wants to discuss that.
We're talking what? We were talking 3, eh? Weren't we?
Mm-hmm.
Talking about giving the assistant a boot allowance. She doesn't have a boot allowance.
Oh,
Well, I think it should be in there, but
Think it should be what?
there should be a boot allowance in there,
For her?
yeah.
And are we going to raise it to 300?
Well, I thought that's what we discussed, but
Yeah. So yes.
Raise it to 300.
So, did we skip departments that should have had that already?
No, she just identified them, Dale, asset management, and Dean.
Right, correct waste.
Or
CEO.
Tyler.
Now, I don't know about the assistant unless, Tyler, if you think, can we be going in calls with you?
No, she doesn't, so
I don't.
I wouldn't worry about it. So,
Okay.
wear those socks and wear my boots.
And that's how we like to save money.
Don't tell her.
Yeah.
This is a part,
She's on the speed dial. She's listening. What's the next one?
On the sewage inspection,
We did building department, we did building department assistant. Sewage inspection. Tammy, or Charlene, whose wages would those be?
all
Is
of
it-
mine. All of mine.
Okay. And the same thing would be with bylaw enforcement, your wages.
Correct. Ground
And,
control is separate, so.
and then computer services for bylaw enforcement.
That was increased for that software program for tracking.
Right.
and whatnot. It was in building inspections last year, so we didn't have computer services. So
Did we approve that last year? I thought.
we did a halfway through the year thing, so.
Oh, okay. So
This year it's
now
on
it's
the
here.
table for.
Okay. And health and safety. Anybody have any questions there?
And those are just wages then, if you were called to do an inspection or it's like a big thing that you.
Health and safety wages could be, I'm joint health and safety certified, so I could go on a week course for that. It could be a full week of wages. Obviously, I forgot to put in my wages for at heights or CPR. I'll put it in there if I'm updating the health and safety boards, first aid kit, stuff like that. Training folks, students, etc.
So then, Tammy, so if there's 100 hours that Tyler works the whole year, so when we've separated him like this, so does the 100 hours decrease to 90 so that the other ones get 2 hours, 3 hours, whatever? Do you know what I mean? So, or is it Tyler's total goes into one department and then these are extras?
These are extras. So these are for these departments. So his CBO bylaw, those wages are his bulk of his job, what he's normally doing as a CBO. So then
Like
he
in
also
total?
does sewage inspection, He also does bylaw enforcement and health and safety, so all of those wages are specific to those departments. So if he's out doing a sewage inspection, then he puts it on his timesheet as a sewage inspection that he spent 6 hours, then that's accounted for in the sewage inspection
Yeah.
department.
And we don't decrease his bulk and CBO. So if he's elsewhere, that the CBO is in total, and that never gets reduced. That's his total. But all the other ones are extras, right? So like,
They're all set amounts because I have no idea.
yeah,
Building, I can work 95% of the year on building, I can work more on sewage, and there's been a few years I've been over just because there's been 10 more sewage permits, or bylaw might increase as an example, so that's why they're all, it's tough to track that one.
okay. Animal control. Like some of these lines in this animal control are zeroed, and yet there's a budget. Do we actually need the budget?
So if you're looking at specialized training, it's really hard to get a dog handling type course that's close by, so I've always got money there to send the animal control officer should one pop up. The other one, the mileage, it's up to the animal control officers to submit their mileage. If they don't, it stays as 0. Contract is 0 because of my report I gave to you guys at the start of the budget process. We don't have a contract as much as we've been trying to obtain one, so that's kind of a big ticket one to look at. So just, what is it, like $4,500?
Do you foresee us having a contract by the end of this year?
I have probably 6 emails, 5 phone calls out to SPCA and not a feedback. And they're the only local kennel nearby, so I don't know what the end result is. Their neighbors are in the same boat as us as well, so.
I know it's only $4,500, but if we need it, can we knock it? Like any of these 0 ones, can we knock?
But yeah, I don't know if they're gonna call me
Tomorrow you can
tomorrow.
call.
I wish I could predict these things, but yeah.
I'm a little concerned about removing it, and I get your point that we want to bring it down, and that's a good point. But if we think that a dog pound is something that we need to invest in, then we need to leave the money in there, because Tyler's looking for one, and a solution might come up anytime. Although we might say, no, we don't want to do that anymore.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, you can take out the money, but then you should also be looking at, is that a service you want to provide the taxpayers or not?
Yeah.
So then gets into a bigger question, but right now, I'm actively trying to secure the contract, just not having them done with it, so, yeah.
Okay.
I guess that's up.
We'll leave it in?
Do with that.
Everybody okay with that? Leaving it in?
Is it a service we want to provide taxpayers? We have to have that conversation sometime. Not now necessarily.
Because if we can't obtain a kennel for the next 5 years, then yeah, that money
It's not legislative for us to do that.
I don't believe so. And then the bounties and livestock damage, I don't look after that. And that's another thing that can't predict when the coyotes are going to get into the chicken coop. But yeah.
Does anybody want to take a break at this time?
Only got 15 minutes left.
It's over.
I'm good.
Everyone's good? Policing.
I don't think we pay enough for policing.
I'd like a recorded vote on that.
It's only $500,000, Bill.
So there is a question in regards to policing. It was brought up the last meeting as far as we keep it the same at what our normal billing rate is, or we set it farther ahead by what it was originally billed and take the difference and put it as a reserve. Does everybody remember that?
So right now it's $499,384. And the previous amount was $583,158.
So I think, was it 84,000 that we would set up in a reserve?
Whatever was left over.
Yeah. Does anybody have any feelings of that?
A reserve for policing costs, you want?
Yeah, because next year it's gonna go up, and if we set it aside this year, because we were supposed to pay it.
So is the funding that came through, is that,
No, it
it's a
was,
one-time funding?
it was, well, would you classify it as a funding? Or they recalculated?
It's just a reduction.
A reduction.
But eventually it's gonna get, like, they're gonna have to get caught up because people are still, their salaries are still, they're still getting
Yeah.
paid what they said that they were doing for the 583. It's still happening, so there is going to be an increase.
So like next year, we're gonna get zapped.
Unless the government permanently or changes the formula of payment. I mean, I'm not inclined to add an extra $85,000 of money just to hold it in the bank. For an unknown, like we have a lot of money for unknowns, but I'm not, that wouldn't be my vote.
Any other comments?
I agree with Bill.
Harold?
I agree.
Maureen?
Not to add to this
Not
budget, no.
Carl?
No.
Brian?
Yeah, I'm not a fan of it either.
So take the lower amount, take what we're getting, and just spread that. Okay.
Can't afford to pay them, we just have to pay them.
You'll just take us to court if we don't pay them. Just cut them off.
Let them earn their money.
We won't give them a boot allowance.
Community emergency measures.
Can you refresh my memory what the emergency preparedness expense of $29,000 was?
Sandbaggers?
Sandbagger.
Okay, cool.
And the offset to that is on page, where'd it go?
It would be the sandbagger and the decontamination jar as well.
Thank you.
And it's on the revenue side. Those
The-
2 grants and stuff.
Yeah, the offset is on page 2, emergency preparedness grant. So it's a net zero. Okay, now we go into Dean's area.
Do you want to start with the provisional budget or other extras that I came up with?
What are you more comfortable in?
It doesn't matter to me, it's up to council. If you only got 10 minutes, we're not going to get through my provisional budget tonight. It's up to council.
How about your wishes?
Okay, well, it's not really a wish list, a couple of things. The grading situation, which wasn't put into the provisional budget with regards to the boat launch, the grading at the not like your boat launch or whatever. So with regarding the grade, I got an email there last Friday, I guess it is, regarding the grade. We're allowed to put in 15 square cubic meters of the grade without a permit. However, we need to supply a permit for the additional, I think there's 4 or 5 more sections to be put in. Just with the land claims and stuff going on, there's going to be an additional cost to that. I think I was talking to you, Brian, about this a while ago. The setup fee for that is $1,842.04 with an annual fee of $60 per year for a rent to have a grate left in the wall.
How much per year, sorry?
$60 per year. That's what you
To have
The grade.
great,
Great left.
no.
And
That's
everything there
unbelievable.
goes back, this money is billed and paid to our financial department and goes back to the crown. So I know council wants the grade in because we purchased the grade and stuff with around the property association. So I told her to go ahead with it, with the permit for the extension of the rest. We have it all sitting there, so it's like we have to go ahead with this.
If we don't, we're in trouble.
Exactly, so we did get approved to go ahead and put the grate in, like whenever we can, like once the water is, if the ice is off, we can go ahead and put those sections in. So we will be doing that, but as for the other ones, we won't be able to do that until we get permit there from our ministry.
Some of it anyway.
Yeah.
So $60 per year to leave that grate in the water.
It's the, how did it work?
There's gonna be more money spent on paperwork.
The thing is, does everybody get that charged for their dock every year too, or what?
Well, she was saying there is some stipulations now that there's new laws and regulations coming out with regards to that. I'm not sure about docks, Brian, I really don't know. But, yeah, we're basically just talking about the grade. And like she said, the setup fee for this is $1842.04, and then we would charge approximately $60 per year for your rent, which includes the annual admin fee. This money is billed and paid to our financial department and goes back to the crown.
Pretty bad when you pay rent on water.
We can't do anything about it.
No.
No sense wasting time at 9 o'clock. Do it.
Paid them out of Bill's wallet.
So that hasn't been put into our budget this year, so that's going to have to be put in there. The other thing is, I'm going to be meeting with engineer regarding the boat ramp on Wednesday, I do believe. Hopefully it doesn't snow too much tonight, so we can get a good visual at it, so he can take a look at it and see what's going to be on with the actual ramp itself going down to the boat launch. So we won't know the cost of that before we get. But just so council's aware, that's going to be put in the budget as well. Well, because council already said we have to go ahead with it, so that's going to be in there. The only other thing is their works department here. I know Dale, myself, and their consultant's been working on that with regards to moving forward with the project. It's not in the budget. There is, what do you call it? It's going to be like tender ready. So that's going to be drawings, HVAC and electrical and all that stuff, whatever. So it's going to be, like tender ready. So if council ever decided to go ahead with it, it's right there. Drawings are there, everything else. That's going to be close to $75,000. So I don't know what council wants to do with that. I just thought I'd bring that to council. If they want to move forward with anything of that, or we spent, I'm not sure exactly off the top of my head, you might know a little bit more than I do about that, but there has been quite a bit of money spent already.
That's crazy.
On this.
You'd be ashamed to just step away from it because of what we spent progressing to this point.
Yeah, because we did monitoring wells in there with the low water area and stuff. So that's not in there as well. So it's up to council if they want to decide to do.
Comments? Everyone's very quiet.
Well, we put it in the budget and we'll have to see if we can do it.
Yeah, we have to start doing something with it before it's too late.
I believe we have 150,000 in there already, do we not? not?
Yeah.
It's
I'm
close to
for
that, I
sure.
think, I'm not 100% sure, but I think it's close to that, it's not cheap.
Show of hands.
Show of hands
For what?
To put the money in his budget for that.
I think the roads yard is a much bigger discussion that we need to have, not like in 5 seconds at a budget meeting tonight. It's a way bigger discussion. The amounts that we were given by Greenview are, I feel, a little unattainable for us at this time, and I don't know if we can come up with an alternative plan of some sort. But I don't think we can afford even their lowest plan, and that's, yeah, I just think the price of everything has gone up so high. I'm not sure if it's in the books for us. Yeah.
I'm just throwing it out there, council.
Yeah, and I don't know what alternatives are. I couldn't come up with those right now, but I think we definitely need to work on something that has to be addressed and should be addressed in this next calendar year. So next year we can start moving ahead on something, whether it's fixing up that existing space, whether it's moving ahead with something. Something has to be done, but I'm not sure that the plans we were given are the right thing given where we are financially.
I tend to agree with you.
Should we be worried about that?
No, we agree with each other all the time. If Ted agrees with me.
I think there's a number of other things on Dean's list that we can move forward with, or at least discuss. I mean, I think we have to move forward with ordering a present contract.
Yeah.
That's not really going to hit the budget.
Next year.
Yeah, but even still, I mean, we have a lease payment that's expiring with $8,300 a month. This is going to go right into that stock, so it's not going to be an increase in the budget eventually.
Can you stop there for a minute?
Yeah.
So it takes how long to get that? If we put the order in?
Pardon me?
How long does it take to,
If we want to build it ourselves, it's probably going to take, like not ourselves, but to do all the specs and stuff, it's probably not going to be till next year. But since we're in this commute program, we could probably go and take a peek at a truck, and if we think it's close to our specs, we could probably have it this year, depending on what. But I'm not 100% sure yet, because I don't know yet until council gives me a go ahead to take a look and investigate a little bit more in depth with that place.
So,
Because we'll have to take a look at it for a few more months.
Yeah,
I may do that.
so council, I think we need to see a show of hands for him to proceed to look into this, to this step. Fair enough?
Well, it's up to council's decision. If they want me to spec it the way we've normally done it, then I can do that. I can get our contacts and do that as spec it. Or does council want me to go through the canoe project like that and say, look at it, procurement by law and stuff like that, and see if it's feasible to do that. So it's up to council if they want us to do the exact spec of what we have right now, which means like different ratios of transmission. There's an automatic transmission and different gear ratios and stuff like that. There's and different rear ends, the springs and stuff, and airbags or not airbags. So there's a lot involved with that too.
On that side.
On that side.
Or the other way is canoe.
Yeah, if, like I said, once we look through the procurement.
Can you explain that to me a little bit more? I don't know what I'm choosing between.
Which, the canoe one?
What's the question?
You would be
basically order it.
We're basically,
I understand that part. What's the other going through a procurement?
Just going to,
We're signed up for the canoe project, so basically it kind of covers that, but we have to look into it a little bit more, like Tammy had said. We could, but just say for instance, council gave me the go ahead for a truck this year. I can go take a look at a truck, say, we'll just say for instance in Kingston or whatever, brand new truck. I can go there and say, okay, automatic transmission, the differentials are what we want. There's a heavy suspension on the front. This is the blade, the ring, whatever we have, and we can just purchase that if they have it on the lot.
and the other way is we're customizing the truck the
Correct.
exact way we want it.
Correct.
So with
So
all the hills, and we'd have no problems with the ones you.
Which way, do you think one way would be cheaper than the other, or would they be?
Well,
I don't wanna put you on the spot.
no, I know what you're saying, Ted, but I think they would, I'm not sure what the cheapest, but cheaper way, but the only thing is you wouldn't get what we want.
Yeah, I
You know what I
think we should go with the specs myself. And then,
That's- yeah.
like the rest of our trucks, we don't have an oddball truck, and you know, the trucks that we've spec'd out before work for us,
Yeah. Because, right,
like we could get one and it just doesn't work right for us.
yeah, because all ours right now are internationals, which is, it could change, don't get me wrong,
Yeah.
because of the price and stuff like that. But if we went, like we said, just go to get a Freightliner and stuff like that, it could be an ELP wing, and so we have no parts for that. So all 4 of our trucks right now, most parts work off all 3 for sure. The truck, the 13, it has the same ring and stuff, but there's a little bit different parts on it. It has augers on it instead of a belt. But most parts, like we stock like a bearing. So like if it's a Saturday or something like that, and a bearing went on one of the trucks, well, they're all compatible. So that's where,
If we're gonna spend $400,000, I think we should get what we want, not be just buying off the lot.
sounds good to me.
So if you build it your way, then it's gonna take a little longer, probably next year.
Yeah.
But are you all right with vehicles, with trucks to get you to that point, as we are now?
Well, if we let the truck 13 there,
A little bit of masking tape or something?
yeah, we just use.
So Bill's giving you a budget of 400,000. That's without the plow, I imagine.
No, I'm roughly.
Was it? Yeah, 400.
Like I said, you see the municipal board that I provided, that's a subject to recent tariffs, so the price is steep.
Well, both ways. Either way is gonna be affected by the tariffs.
So I agree, I think we should
Yeah.
let him build it the way he wants it and have it match some of the other, maybe we have parts that we can use along the line, and that's, in the end, we're gonna gain.
Yeah, by 2026, Trump will probably change his mind about tariffs. He seems to do it like every month, so. Never know.
So what, that's go on building a truck, or what's?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Build.
Go fix some roads.
Beans go to sleep good.
That'd be a good thing to do.
Yeah.
Council? What
Okay.
roads do they want to do?
Is that your next on your list?
Yeah, well, like I said, you probably want to be out of here.
So, okay, everybody had homework.
Well, I took Brian around Annie Street the other day in the township truck, and he's probably as whiplash there.
So is that your vote?
It's the smoothest road I drive on every day.
Hey, I heard that Bill's seen the kids playing on the street there, and they're in the potholes, you couldn't see their heads. Used their heads in their head.
Well, we don't have-
Byers Creek never even used that line. Your line you used was school busing. Okay, so everybody was given homework, or do you have a question?
I have a question. Do we have an approximate cost on the Annie Street on that horseshoe?
No.
Well, that's.
What?
Just hang on.
I know David called it horseshoe,
Yeah, the horseshoes on Round Lake.
Yeah, people.
And when you were talking horseshoe, I thought you were talking
Okay.
Buck Hill.
Buck
People
Hill.
asking me like, oh, you're gonna do something with horseshoe, that's in between division. And I'm like, no, but it just.
I've nicknamed it the
I know,
horseshoe
I
because
know,
it's,
but just like taxpayers and stuff like that, it's.
Okay.
So, because there's no houses, there's just hunt camps on that road, so we're not paving that road, just to get that clear. It's gonna be over 300,000, I would say close to 350.
Okay.
Reason being, there's 6 catch basins there, they're gonna have to redo them all. It's different than,
A road.
it's 0.4 of a kilometer. And like, I know some of the roads that Byers Creek came in on the budget last year, and it's 1.7. But when they come in to do the road, they'll come in with a pulverizer, and they'll have that like straight stretch. When they get catch basins that have to maneuver around a lot of different areas, it takes a lot more time. Just say, for instance, 2 or 3 years ago, and Mary Street, just back here, there was a straight stretch from 100 meters from Cole Street to Bowen Street. That cost us almost $70,000. Because it costs more to bring in equipment to do a smaller job than it does to do a big job. Kind of thing. And the big thing about the catch basins is they have to maneuver around it, they have plate tamper it and stuff like that, so it's a lot more work. Some of them pave right over it and then just cut it out after. That's not the ideal thing about it. We do have to put a culvert in, but that would be within in-house, but that's still, like Will had said before, that still has to be booked towards this project. We could probably do the culvert this year, but doing any more catch basins on it's kind of, like, they're still gonna do it again. But again, it's up to council.
Okay, we'll start with Brian.
And again, it could be under budget, or over budget, I'm not 100% sure, just, that's my,
We're gonna start with Brian. Year 2.
What do you want?
Your 2 roads you'd like, your priorities.
Mountain View and Mask Road.
Carl.
Annie Street and Mountain View.
Ted.
I'm not picking any because I think whatever his recommendation is as a road super, the roads we should be doing.
I know, but we were gonna do that, but council wanted to actually go through and see what the opinion was. Yes, you're right. He should make the decision, or he should tell us, we should tell him the money, and he tells, that's how it should work. But council, last meeting, wanted everyone to go on a little trip to see which 2 they felt were. Anyways. I'm just following what was asked.
Yeah.
You just don't want to say your road?
Well, my road's bad, but again,
Not that bad.
I say we give him we pay him money to do this job. We tell him how much money we have in the budget, and that's what's done, in my opinion.
I agree totally, but council asked the last meeting to do this.
So, but that's my answer, so we're not gonna get it.
Okay, I'm not gonna get.
We have to
Maureen.
decide to get tenders out though, you know,
Maureen.
whatever.
Oh, mine's toss up between Bear Trail and Annie Street, and I thought Division Road was pretty bad as well.
So what's your first one?
I'm in between Bear Trail and Annie. Bear Trail has so
Okay,
many
so that's your
patches.
2.
It has so many patches on it.
Bill.
I live on the Horseshoe, and I would not recommend that that's as bad as any of the other ones that Dean said. In my opinion, of the ones that suck the most, I would say Mask Road. However, Dean gave us the when they were supposed to be done according to our asset management plan, and that one's already 2 years overdue. So that kind of led my decision as well, following the asset management plan about when things should be replaced.
And your second choice.
No, I don't really have one.
Okay, Harold.
Bear Trail at 1.8, number 1, and Division Road at 0.4 kilometers, number 2.
I honestly think that we might be surprised at the pricing this year, because I've talked to multiple different people that work for multiple construction companies, and they have no work.
No work?
There's no work for anybody.
Wow.
a lot of people have been saying that too.
Yeah. So we might get more done than we thought. Once we put tenders out, we might have extra money to put more tenders out.
I think these are just going by, the numbers are going by the previous, like I said,
Yeah.
previous past kind of thing.
Yeah.
Like Myers Creek really came under budget last year, which is great, you know, kind of thing, but, you know, the year before it was basically the same what I budgeted for Myers Creek.
Yeah, I think everybody was shocked by the price last year.
Yeah, no,
Like,
for sure. So
now-
So the sooner we get the budgets out, it could better, because maybe we'll be able to put more.
Well, we
tenders out.
we could tonight authorize him to go and get the tenders for the 2 roads that we picked. Could we not, Tammy?
He's a great proposal.
Okay,
Every year.
Bern.
We do that every
Yeah.
year.
So my 2 are Mask and Annie. Notice I used the right word. Okay, so that gives 1, 2, 3 masks And 1, 2, 3 Annies. And those would be the two.
That's $700,000 worth of roads. Yeah, which we could, I don't think we can
Yeah, you
afford.
can't, that's.
So what, Dean, in your opinion, what would be like 1 and 2? In your professional opinion?
You're putting me on the spot here.
Well, you're the
I know,
expert,
right,
and
it's,
I would like your advice, because you
Again,
know.
at the end of the day, I think all the roads paved.
Yeah, I know, we have 300 kilometers of road, we have a lot of
Over
road.
300 kilometers of road, yeah. Mountain View should be done, I think. Annie Street, I think it could probably be hold off. Annie Street and risk, or Annie Street in that, but yeah, Mountain View probably should be done. Mass Road is bad. Bear Trail is bad. Division is bad. So I'm not sure. Like, that's why I picked out the worst roads that I thought. There's other ones out there, don't get me wrong, but again, at the end of the day, I can only provide so much to council, and then
Yeah.
there's only so much money, so there's no sense in going through every road. Like I said, I looked, like Bill had said, I looked at some of the asset management plans that we had, and that's where kind of some of that came with, as well as inspection of the roads. Like, I know some of the roads, they're like Mass Road, it doesn't look that bad now, but when you start sweeping the sand off there's a lot more sand on it right now. And anything, could we use a lot more sand within this year than we did last year, plus the year before, so. Again,
So-
that's my opinion, but again, this is council's decision, I just give, like,
So just to clarify again, Mountain View is how, what's the length?
0.7.
Sorry?
yeah, something like that, yeah.
0.7?
0.6.
0.6? Okay, and Mask was 1.8, the same as Byers?
1.8, 1.7.
1.5.
Roughly around there, because we're gonna do that boulevard around there too, right?
Yeah.
Like a cul-de-sac, like we did at Myers Creek, we kind of do that cul-de-sac there or whatever, so it's a little bit extra.
So if we give you authorization for those two, I'm assuming that depending, well, let's not even assume. Let's see what they come in as price and go from there.
For which two are we talking about?
Mountain View and Mask.
Mask and Mountain View?
Yeah.
But that's 600,000.
Well, Mountain View is 0.6.
Is it not?
Mountain View is only
At the end of the day, though, like. we discussed-
240 and 360. Am I mathing wrong, or is that not 600?
0.6 kilometers.
I think you've
Council
got,
needs to also take into consideration, so normally for the roads, OCIF funding and gas tax has been used on roads. So OCIF is 305,734, gas tax is 78,927. And then the reserves that we have in the road reserves, I don't know off the top of my head, but that's something as well. But as also too, then if council wants to, think about the roads yard, I don't know, and then other than that, it's the rest of the budget, the tax base.
We have other infrastructure as well that we could use some of that infrastructure
Oh, yeah.
money for.
I think we discussed last council meeting there on March 17th, I do believe it was, is like we can't, like, we have to make sure there is enough money in the budget for these roads, because if we put them out, and look, I know in the budget, just, or in our tenders, it does say not necessarily roads get the take, or will not accept at all. But again, we're such a small municipality, we started doing stuff like that, saying that, making our contractors bid on 2, 3, 4, 5 roads. So that's just an example, and then we only do one road, so they're wasting their time coming out each and every individual road to measure it out, to do the contract and stuff like that, and put a tender in. So just one council to be aware of that as well, like we discussed last week at the finance meeting.
Yeah.
so realistically, 0.6 and 1.5 should be enough. Like, we don't know, I can say that, but it doesn't seem like those two roads, it'll be close to our budget line,
Yeah.
I'm assuming.
You have Mask Road. Mask Road is estimated at $360,000 and Mountain View is estimated at $240,000. That's $600,000 altogether, right? And we have 380 this year for roads. So therefore, we'll be taking money out of our reserves. If we do that, we'll be taking about $200,000 out of our reserves that we might need. You know, I look at Madawaska Valley as a good example. How many water main breaks have they had this year? You know, I think they're up to 4 maybe, like over the last little while. Like we're getting to that point 100%. So I do not feel comfortable doing that. I think we either pick one big road, like one of those $300,000 ones, or we do 2 small roads like we did the first year. We do Mountain View and Division for $420,000. That I would feel comfortable with, but not $600,000.
Just so council's aware, there's $484,580.79 in the road reserve.
Yeah, which isn't a ton of money. It sounds like a lot of money when you don't have that sitting in your bank account, but it's not a lot of money.
Some of the roads we were doing in town, and mostly for one, we didn't have one. We never did any, sewer or water with that, so.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, it's like if we do Annie Street and Zumik and James Street there, that's something to look at too, but again, that's not gonna be just over 300,000, that's gonna be pricey if, we go through, putting new sewer lines in and stuff like that, but again, that's up to council.
We pick one of the big ones. I say what, or I agree with what Maureen was saying, which would be, Mountain View or Mask in your opinion.
Well, Mountain View isn't a very big job.
Well, that's only 0.6 kilometers. I don't know.
Well, no, but if you did
Mountain. This road, just over the hill, let's go.
Yeah, if you did Mountain View and Division Road, if we picked both of those, we would get both of those done for $420,000, and then we save a big road, one of those bigger ones for next year, one of those $380,000 ones. That's a 2026.
Or we do Mask Road for
Or we-
360.
or we do a big one.
That's supposed to be done in 2 years ago. And do the
Mask Road is
other
bad.
ones that are in 27.
They're all bad.
They're done in 27.
Right?
I have a question. So if Mask Road is 2 years past,
Yeah.
is that going to affect our asset management plan when we go to put that in? Will it still pass with that, or how does that work? I guess is my question.
Are you talking about refer to our July deadline?
Yeah,
Oh, yeah, it won't affect that.
it won't affect.
Well, why don't we tender Mask and Mountain View and see what it comes back at?
I think that's what we should do.
Yeah, but then we're putting out tenders that we might not even do,
Yeah,
and
but-
that's a waste of people's time.
But realistically, we're doing 0.6 a kilometer and 1.5.
I can't see that being that much money there, to tell you the truth.
But Dean is estimating it at $600,000.
Mountain View.
For those
Well,
two
the
roads
two-
together.
I didn't go down like this Mountain View run,
Well-
if you go down to this road too, right? It's like Mountain and Lisk, so you go past Mountain View, that's where I was coming in, it's a little further than that, because then you're going down to the section there.
This road, yeah.
Yeah, but it's 0.6 kilometers.
But then on this road, because there's the U-shape there kind of thing, we're gonna go down there. I didn't put Mask and Lisk in there because then people would get kind of confused, but that's my intention, to do the exact same thing, plus an extension of what passed the second house on, or third house on the left, past that rock cut. There's that culvert that we
Yeah.
put in, past there, because I know sometimes they call it calcium being put down there, so that was my thought. Going past where the rock is,
Oh,
and go
God.
down on this
Yeah,
street,
yeah.
or this road as well.
I was just thinking where the pavement ends at Masks.
Yeah, no, I won't go further
Oh,
than that.
God.
I
So-
want to go further.
So we have 380 in money. We have 400 and some odd in reserves, but we have 380 in new money for this year. I think we should be spending that.
We're caught between a rock and a hard pile because we don't know the actual estimate. We could get a bonus like last year, and it'd be a tremendous price, right? We could end up with that, but we don't know. That's the thing. And I know we're doing 2 roads, and it's if we ask for estimate for those 2 roads, whether it's whatever 2, we don't know what the actual cost is until we get an estimate.
Could we not just do the .6 of Mountain View to where it ended there on masks instead of going down this road?
We could, it's up to council, but we could.
Well, that'd fix this end, it's so bad. Well, you drive it every day.
Our road superintendent is telling us that it's not a good idea to be putting out tenders unless we have the money in the bank that we know we're going to spend on it, not just to go fishing and see what we can. That will negatively impact us in the future. People will stop bidding on our contracts. I believe that's
what you say, Maureen.
What's that?
What 2 roads did you say?
Oh, well, I said Division Road and Mountain View Road, because the
And
two
that
of
would
those
be
would
how
come
much?
in at $420,000. That's his estimated cost.
That's my vote. Let's move on here.
So Maureen, you said Bear Trail and Annie.
No, I said Mountain, I know, you asked me what the worst roads are, but for the purpose of this budget, I'm saying Mountain View Road and Division Road, because that comes in at $420,000.
I say we tender those 2, and then if it comes back and we have more money, we can tender another one.
And how,
Okay, if Maureen and Ted agree on something, I'm going to go with that. You see pigs flying out the window.
so what did you say, Mountain View and what?
Everybody to come on your side.
Yeah, I said Mountain View and Division, just because they come in at an amount that I feel is reasonable. It's
And what's
400.
the distance on both? Mountain View is how long?
.6.
0.6, and division is 0.4.
But we're doing more than 0.6. 'Cause
I
we're
want
down
to-
Lisk Street.
Going down
On this
west.
road.
But that's in on that price, right? Okay. So we're actually doing more than 0.6 for the,
Yes, because it's gold.
because we're gonna go down Lisk Street and extend Mountain a bit. Right?
Correct.
Okay. Or Lisk Road.
We've got 3 votes, someone
What do you
will
say?
say yes and then.
Mountain View and mask.
I agree. I think that's a good start. Tender those 2 out and then take it
Yeah.
from there.
Well, if we get the tenders out early enough, like we were saying, the council was saying,
Then you would,
yeah, like if they come under budget, then we can, because this is only April, right? So if we get the tenders out and know it by, by May, 1st of May, we can say like, okay,
Because we have until May 31st to finish our budget, so.
so we have lots of time.
Yeah.
No, like,
to get
Damn it, we
tenders
have
out.
lots of time.
no, well,
No, for tenders.
We have lots of time to decide on which roads that we have, if council wants to tender.
add on.
Then we could
That's what I was
Yeah,
saying.
but we can spend money until May 31st, so Tammy can adjust.
Okay.
Okay, so there's a motion on the floor, or not forget that, suggestion on the floor to do Mountain View, to get a quote for Mountain View and Division. All those in favor, just show of hands. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5? You're 5?
Yeah, I put it up 3 times, so.
I say,
I'm the only one that said no.
No, my 2 were Mountain View and Mask, so.
Oh, thank you.
So you're okay with that? Get estimates for those 2. And then I guess we're going to motion
motion for
To
what?
adjourn?
to adjourn.
Moved by Billson, second by.
Oh, can we do one more, because it would be good to, can we get them to put in the staff, the increase in wages?
We're going to do that as soon as we go in.
Are we going to
Oh,
close?
you said adjourn.
Fine.
Oh, sorry.
Okay.
What, are we going to hear from, excuse
We
me?
don't have to?
Not if you're not identifying it individually.
There might be during the course of the I don't want to take the chance.
What about Colton?
Yeah, Colton sat here all night. for
Well,
nothing.
Dean hasn't even started yet.
Oh, yeah, mine's gonna be longer than this.
I think Colton, what do you be, 15 minutes? Like
No, it's gonna be longer than that. So, okay, so what do I need to do?
Yeah.
We're gonna go into closed.
We're going to close, okay.
We have 6 minutes.
Moved by,
Go quick.
moved by Ted Brown, second by Brian Kowalski, be it resolved that the committee move into closed meeting pursuant to section 239 of the Municipal Act 2001 as amended for the following reasons. Personal matters about the identifiable individual, including the municipal or board employees.